is like, let's look at JK Paper, what the stock is doing today. JK Paper has had very good numbers. Its profit after tax has jumped almost more than 65, almost 69%, if I've got that right. And even the top line has increased significantly. We have with us Mr. V. Kumaraswamy, CFO of JK Paper. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, 82%, that's the growth in top line on profit, on a top line growth of just 3.6%. It looks like that you've managed to do something brilliant in terms of costs, sir. Could you just give us the details?
Yeah, we have managed to return our focus on cost cutting, especially in the area of power, manpower, and raw materials in terms of procurement, how long distances we procure. And this we have been at it for the last about 6 or 7 quarters, ever since this new machine came up in Orissa. It affords a lot more cost-effective functioning, and we have been at it. And we have also been, operating our machine.
That you had, sir? If you could just tell our viewers, if I had to compare, you said that this is much more efficient, cost-effective, the new machine in Orissa. How does it compare with the old machine?
See, in terms of total overall efficiency, it will be almost about 12-13% better EBITDA margins than the older machines. I'm talking in general terms.
Right, yeah.
Because the kind of power consumption it's much lower. And the coal consumption, as you perhaps may have noticed, has come down from 1.5, 1.6 tons per ton of paper to almost 0.8 tons now.
Okay.
That's a significant gain. We also managed to put up our own in-house facilities for lime conversion, etc. And there's been a significant decline in the cost of lime that is used now. So the chemicals that are recirculated has gone up. So all this has afforded very good cost effectiveness and cost savings.
So what is the main input? Is it wood pulp? What kind of that you buy? What is the main input?
We procure wood which are grown through farm forestry.
Okay.
And convert it into pulp. We are a completely integrated player.
All right.
Except for our board operations, which has to depend on some pulp which cannot be manufactured in India.
And as in you procure timber directly, you procure the timber and then turn it into pulp?
We do procure the wood, which is casuarina, acacia, subabul, and eucalyptus, and chip them and make pulp out of them and use it.
But the plantations themselves are not yours?
Plantations, see, no corporates can own beyond 40 acres for agricultural activities in India as per the state policy.
Okay.
So we have perforce to depend on only farmers to grow them for us.
All right. And have wood prices declined in the recent period? Because if I look at global wood pulp prices, they have dropped in the last few quarters, and even now they're kind of not fully regained. So have the wood that you buy itself, has that price gone down?
These wood prices in India have nothing to do with the wood prices overseas or the pulp prices overseas. It's purely a domestic play. What the paper industries have done after an abnormal increase in the wood prices in between 2010 to 13 is grow more and more trees within the vicinity of the factory, as well as compress the time to harvest by giving better seeds and seedlings and clones to the farmers. So we have reduced the distances to procurement, which has brought down the freight costs. Say, I would say about 2013-14, we're procuring our wood from distances of 700-800 kilometers. Now we are down to about 360 kilometers on an average in one factory. That's our Orissa factory. And in our Surat factory, which we used to go to Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka to fetch wood, now the maximum we go is just about 150 kilometers. This has reduced the cost of total delivered, cost of wood significantly. That's where the savings have come from.
You mentioned, and maybe I got that wrong, you seem to suggest that you go and give saplings to farmers, and you're providing that yourselves? Is there some kind of a lease agreement you have, some sort of a procurement agreement you have with farmers?
There is no procurement agreement and nothing will work by way of contractual arrangement there. There is no enforceability of contract.
Okay.
We do develop clones, seeds, seedlings, and we sell it to the farmers.
Okay.
Only when they actually buy it for commercial value do they really care for it and make it grow. And that's the only way it works. And they use their land to grow it with an informal understanding that there will be a market to pick it up when it is up for harvest.
And but the only thing that it appears to me is that now that you're getting the advantage from the Orissa plant and it has that cost efficiencies, one would imagine that then the growth in PAT, the PAT number, because the top line has grown by 3.6%, the growth in PAT number is over a few quarters going to kind of peter down a little bit. Would that be correct?
Well, obviously, nothing can keep on growing, forever. But for the new pulp, our Orissa plant's pulp is completely new, the entire pulping. And in terms of paper, almost 60-65% is new. And there is still some steam left in those machines, both by way of better capacity utilizations and some more efficiencies to be squeezed out. And one must realize, since you have covered all the costs at this stage, and the entire contribution goes to the EBITDA lines from now on,
Right.
So,
Okay. Just wanted to get a sense, because if I compare the massive growth in net income and compare that to the growth in the top line growth looks very modest. Has been a tough quarter in terms of revenues, or is this the run rate that you expect?
No, actually, we are already operating at 100% capacity levels. So obviously, you can't be jumping quantities,
Right.
from now on that much. Having said that, we have already started some operations to debottleneck further and trying to squeeze out a little better capacity utilizations as we go along.
But what does the market look like? Does it look like that you would like to put some capacity, additional capacity, because the market is growing, or is the market not growing at enough of a pace for you to right now invest in additional capacity?
See, the overall paper market in India is growing at around 6 to 7%, which is the highest in the world as of now, twice as much as in China. Within that, we are operating in three segments: copier, coated, and packaging board. Copier grows at around 6 to 7%. If the industrial activity picks up, it has reason to inch it up further. Coated paper is about 7 to 8%, and packaging board, because of the strong growth in retailing, is growing at around 12 to 18%.
Okay.
Different segments and different varieties. So that's a good enough number to be with.
But as you pointed out,
having
sir,
said
that
that,
packaging board, your input, the wood pulp the pulp that you buy for packaging board is actually imported, right?
That's right, yes.
So are the margins slightly lower?
So obviously the margins on pulping will remain with the pulp suppliers.
Yeah.
The conversion from pulp to paper remains with us, and that's about 13, 14, 15%. That's the kind of margin that we get.
So the reason I'm asking that question is that will we see a margin mix which is more towards the packaging side, and therefore a slight decline in margins, or as you pointed out, that since all of it will come down to the EBITDA because all that you have to spend has been spent, the margins will be more or less retained.
That's right, yeah. So packaging, we are full up. We are operating at 100% capacity.
Okay.
And, I will return to your earlier questions regarding capacities. There was a supply overhang in the last about 24-30 months. Since we came in with a large capacity, the market was oversupplied. Since the demand has grown and it has caught up more or less with supply, and I would guess that it is not much is left by way of supply overhang. So the next 18 months, 24 months will be an interesting time because nobody has announced any fresh capacity additions in this segment, especially coated and matte litho. And maybe
so we
for
can
what all we
expect
suffered
pricing
in the period,
you to have some
10,
pricing
12,
power. Would it be fair to say that you will now have some pricing power back with you?
Little better pricing power because there is a cap in terms of import parity prices operating.
Right.
But that operates in port cities better than the interiors. But to that extent, we'll have a slightly, this was also one of the constraints, supply overhang. One of the airlines go, but the other limiting factors in terms of import parity price will still operate.
Any chances of inorganic growth then? Is there something that you're looking at which you might go out and buy?
Actually, you may have noticed that we have submitted a non-binding bid for 2 units of Balapur bill, or rather BGPPL,
Okay.
which is the Balapur unit and Ashti unit, which is there in the public domain.
All right.
But I'm afraid I may not be
You
able to
can't give
talk
any
too
more
much of
details.
it given the confidentiality clauses. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure talking to you. Very interesting.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Very interesting developments there. V. Kumaraswamy, CFO of JK Paper, pointing out that big operational efficiencies from new machines that they've installed in Orissa, they're coming in, and all the advanced capacity additions that have happened is now through. The expenses are through, so it'll all come down to the EBITDA line. And another thing that is important is that he did point out, it's in the public domain, but just a good thing to remind you that they have put in non-binding bids for 2 units of, if I got that correct, built of Balapur Industries. Time for a quick break. Sunil Subramaniam will be joining us. Stay with us because this is going to get very interesting.